story of waiting 80 years in the making to identify the remains of a sailor killed in the attack on Pearl Harbor. A Cary family has been mourning a loved one they have never met in the hopes that one day the remains of 21-year-old Herbert Jacobson, who died on the first day of the war, would surface. That day has come, and with it, a proper burial last week in Washington, D.C. WRAL's Chelsea Donovan shares this family's quest to say goodbye.
How all this came about is just a remarkable story in itself.
It starts in 1920 when Herbert Jacobson was born.
Bert was born and grew up in Grayslake, Illinois.
At 20, he enlisted in the Navy and was assigned to the USS Oklahoma.
And these are some of the letters that he wrote back home. Bert reported to Hawaii on 9/11/1941. And so he was only there a short time before the attack occurred.
21-year-old Jacobson was among the 400 sailors and Marines killed on the USS Oklahoma, December 7th, 1941, the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor.
In all likelihood, he was sound asleep when the attack occurred.
It was a date of sadness for our grandmother, who never knew where her son was.
A family like hundreds of others that never had a body to bury. His remains likely scattered across a dormant volcanic crater near Pearl Harbor.
The identification process in 1949 wasn't all that great.
For decades, Bert's nephew and nieces who live in Cary, who never met their uncle, sat waiting for the phone to ring, all while attending meetings with the Navy's forensic scientists.
And they provided us with all sorts of materials.
Who continued to collect their DNA samples, hoping for a match. Year after year, they came up short.
And they said, we think we can identify him, but it's not going to be in your lifetimes.
Then a phone call in 2019.
We have most of the arms and the legs.
The 80-year-long quest in finding Bert's remains solved.
Yeah, and the forensic scientists said it was a slam dunk.
His remains now lay under this Navy uniform, a casket filled with mementos and heirlooms.
This represents closure and coming to the end of a long, long, long journey.
September 13th, 2022, the last chapter in this 8-decade-long quest. Bert's final journey home, a burial at Arlington National Cemetery.
It was more than we expected, but it was all that Bert deserved.
A family that carried the torch for so long to find answers. And now to have that proper goodbye, a full military farewell to Navy Fireman 3rd Class Herbert Jacobson.
Project Oklahoma has led to the identification of 355 men, including Jacobson, who were killed on the USS Oklahoma in 1941. That leaves 33 sets of remains still to be identified.